Hey guys, so we're just past the Easter weekend now and thought this would be a good time to start updating my YouTube channel with the garden and how it made out through the winter and how it's looking now in early spring. So just some quick context as to why things kind of looked at the way that they do is that we did have like not a great winter here, and probably one of the harsher winters we've had in the last few years. So the lowest temperature I recorded in the backyard here was minus 26 Celsius, which still keeps us in our zone 5B, but it's really on sort of like the harsher end of that. So the things you're gonna see here, the plants have seen those temperatures. We didn't get long durations this winter, like weeks of cold, but we had like really small, short, cold pockets, cold snaps during the winter, and generally overall it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't super long as it could have been, but we had cold periods, we had some mild times as well, but generally the plants, the broadleaf evergreens, suffered. And so far this spring has been kind of typical here. It's been mostly cooler. We've had decent amount of rain and some sunny days like today. We've had a few warm ones here and there, and we're gonna have some more this coming weekend. But we had like a few centimeters of snow yesterday, so it's kind of been typical here. So once the real warm weather gets going, we'll see what's really gonna make it through. It's good to have, I guess, a winter like this every 5 years or 3-5 years, because it really reminds you of what zone you actually live in and what actually can grow there. Sometimes you get lulled into having 2 or 3 good winters in a row, and you think, oh, I live in zone 7 and I can grow all these great things, and no, actually I don't. I live in zone 5B, and this winter is the harsh reminder of where I live. So come around and we'll have a look at the backyard, and then in future videos I'll show what's going on in the front and side yard. It's a little bit windy, so sorry if there's some wind noise in this video. So the euonymus tree that I have, suffered pretty harshly. Generally these keep their leaves, and they start to look crummy later on into the spring when the leaves start coming out, the new leaves. So pretty much defoliated, but all the stems are green and the buds look great. So usually around the 10th of May, sometime around there, it'll start fleshing out its really nice leaves, and should be fine. And down here we've got a rhododendron, the small leaf variety that always really does fine here no matter what, and it should be blooming in the next probably 2 weeks or so. Got a fern down there in the corner, which is fine. This mountain laurel actually looks really good too. It's out of the winter sun, and it looks like it's kind of gonna get ready to flower in the next little bit. They usually flower sort of middle of May here. Rhododendron did fine as well. It's not gonna have as many blooms as it usually does, unfortunately. Kind of does one good year and then sort of takes the year off, so I think this is its off year. Helleborus that's starting to come up and should be blooming in the next little bit. Those are always nice to see in the spring. I've got other spring bulbs that are sort of further behind here, like daffodils and that are already blooming here, but they don't bloom in this section of the garden that early. Here's my Castle Spire holly, which has looks like probably some top dieback, but the parts that were more closer to the ground look fine, so it should really grow well this year, hopefully. Nothing chewed at it. I had some euonymus back there. I forget the variety. It was from Tony, who now is in Nova Scotia, but was in Niagara, and it just like completely melted. So I don't know if it'll come back from the ground or if it's kind of lost. The windmill palm is looking basically the same, and again, no spear pull so far, and we'll see by sort of middle of May how much it's gonna grow. Inkberry holly has some damage, as you can see, showing the winter damage now, but will do just fine. And the cactus bed still looks kind of dead. It'll start perking up soon, but right now it just looks like sort of a big mess, really. But it will look better soon, and this yucca looks good too. It's pretty spiky, this yucca, so the snow load doesn't usually push it down too much. And then Virginiana looks great. As you can see, like, all the stems are fine. Really, Virginiana should be more available in this area, because there was your typical sort of Kingston, Ontario winter that we just had, and it's going to be just fine. Like, this is normal for the leaves now to be dying off. And this is a leather leaf, or not a leather leaf, it's a type of viburnum that's like leather leaf. The tag's over here, it's going to be all worn out. Praganese. I think it's like a zone 6, and it actually doesn't look great. I think it might be actually okay. We'll find out in the weeks to come. These are usually earlier to sort of push out their new growth. It's definitely alive, but I don't know if I've got some dieback at the top. And there's a teddy bear rhododendron, which, you know, don't mind really any of our winters as long as the soil is right. And northern wax myrtle, again, does fine here. You can see all the little buds that'll be popping out soon. And it continues every year to hold more leaves than it did the following year, which is kind of cool. Here's a quick shot of the ornamental pears, which will be flowering in probably by middle of May, but they're starting to kind of break their bud a little bit. So heading into the sort of, whatever you want to call it, the subtropical corner, the magnolia, the southern magnolia, Bracken's Brown Beauty, looks pretty bad. And, you know, I won't totally know how much of it is dead and how much of it's alive until we really start to warm up. And that will be sort of end of May, beginning of June. You'll start to see new buds coming out on the branches, and you'll really know at that point how much of it's gonna come back. And I just basically, if I really want to keep this tree and keep it long term, I'm gonna have to keep it sort of like dwarfed probably into this area here, and I'm gonna have to just cover it every year if I really want to keep it, because out of 5 winters there might be 1 winter that will kill it, and the other 4 might be fine, but you just never know. And then the needle palms look okay. I've got, you can see like one of the newer fronds that was coming out looks damaged, and it could still get spear pull. It doesn't yet, but it should be okay. And this one looks fine too. What's interesting here, and again, won't know for a bit if these Musabajus are okay. The other years that I've protected them, they've basically been like slime and mush this time of year, and actually they're still quite firm. Like around here it's kind of mushy, but I'm wondering if actually the root base is actually alive, and if you'll start to see, like, you know, little pups coming from the ground sometime maybe in June. So I'm just gonna leave these and ignore them. And this one's basically in the same kind of state as well, so it does give me some hope that there's some life there. And the final spot we'll look at today is the garden, where I have the Table Mountain Pine, which looks fine too. It's got some browning needles, but that's normal for all pines this time of year, so it should be fine. And I actually trimmed the tree next door here to hopefully give it some more sunlight. The rhododendrons, the small leaf rhododendrons, are looking fine, and you can see they're starting to, you know, the buds are swelling, and sometimes they're blooming by the end of April here. Not this year, probably it's too cool, but definitely probably that first week of May they'll have nice flowers on them. And then this Skimmia probably is dead. It's a zone 7 plant, and we had a zone 5B winter, so most likely this is dead, but I'm just gonna leave it and wait to see if there's any life coming back from the roots, but I won't know that until it's obviously warmer than it is right now. So thanks for coming around for a quick garden tour of the backyard, and stay tuned in the coming probably days, maybe week, when I'll take you guys around the front and the sides, and you'll see what's going on there. So Take care, everybody.